we'll be working step by step through our Waldorf Wonder Things baby bunny doll pattern. If you like the pattern, the link is in the description. First, we need to gather our supplies. I have cotton velour, cotton tricot skin fabric, wool felt, scrap piece of cotton fabric, our Waldorf bunny doll pattern, embroidery threads for the eyes and mouth, pliers, snips, scissors, cotton thread, some pins and a needle, a Waldorf mini doll head. If you need the video tutorial for this, the link will be in the description. A small amount of clean carded wool roving, a wax crayon, a scrap piece of cotton tricot knit, a small funnel, or in my case I've used a piece of paper to create a tube with a little hole, and a little amount of sand. I also have a sewing machine that I'll be using today. Now that you've gathered all your supplies, what you want to do next is cut out all of your paper pattern pieces, then pin them to the fabric ready to cut out. Now that we've got all of our pattern pieces cut out, I'm going to go ahead and start making our doll. So I've got 2 pieces of round cotton here that I've cut out. It doesn't matter if they face in or it faces out, because it's going to be inside the doll and no one's going to see it. So I'm going to use my machine to go around the edges twice. It's important when you start sewing to go forward about 3 stitches and then reverse back over it for 3 stitches and then continue on. I don't want to go all the way in a complete circle. I need to leave a gap about 2 centimeters or half an inch wide so I can get my sand in a moment. Now I've just turned my fabric around, so I'm going to reverse and go around the circle again. So I've sewed around it twice. When I finished up, I reversed over my stitches again to make sure they don't come undone. Now, it's not the prettiest, but now I do have 2 rows of stitching on the inside. Now we're going to fill our little bag with sand. If you have a tiny little funnel at home, you can use that to insert into the opening, or I've just made a little cardboard funnel. Insert your funnel into the opening. Now I've got a little bit of sand that I'm just going to spoon into my funnel. Now I can fill this, so it's about 3/4 of the way full. I want to be able to squeeze shut the opening because I need to sew over that in a minute without sand going everywhere. I just went backwards and forwards over that opening 3 or 4 times. Now my little sandbag is ready. As you can see, I've got raw edges on the outside. I didn't bother to turn my sandbag inside out because it's going to sit inside the doll and no one will see it. Now we're ready to make the hands. I have 2 scrap pieces of cotton tricot knit, some thick cord, and 2 little bundles of clean carded wool, about the same size. So I'm going to scrunch it up into a little ball. When I do that, it's roughly the same size as my thumbnail. I'm going to put it in the center of our fabric, push it through, and bring all of the edges down together. Don't let go. Now we're going to tie a knot in our thread, thread it over the top of our little ball, wrap a few times, and we'll tie a knot to keep that all nice and tight. One more time. Now there's our little hand. I'm just going to trim the edges a bit to keep it nice and tidy, so it's not big and bulky in our little doll arm either. And there you have it, one little doll hand. Now I'll go ahead and make the other one. This is our body piece ready for sewing. I've got the right sides together and I've got the inside facing out. First I need to sew along the shoulder seam. Just from here to here, we're going to leave the neck and the arms open. So once I do this first, I'm going to start here, come around here, up along the bottom of this arm. Then I'm going to do this part. Now that I've stitched my body piece, I'm going to take my snips and make 2 small cuts in the armpits. This is going to help have the doll to have movement in its arms. Now, when I cut my head fabric, I made sure that I put the face edge on the fold of the fabric. It was cut on the fold, meaning that when I open it, I don't have 2 pieces of fabric, I just have 1. The face will end up where that fold is. Now we need to sew from the top around the side. I'm going to turn it the right way out. Now you should have something that looks a little like this. I'm going to take my doll head. If you haven't made your doll head yet, you can watch my video on how to make a mini doll head for your Waldorf doll. Now make sure the front of your doll's face is put inside your little skin fabric where the fold is. So the seam faces the back of the head. You may think your little doll looks a little bit like a chicken with a comb here, but we're going to fix that up. First, what we need to do is take a needle and thread and secure it to the bottom here. I've tried to catch a bit of this cotton and wool underneath to secure my thread. Pull it almost to the end, tie a knot to secure it there. Now first we're going to work on the neck. To do that, I'm going to find where my neckline is and take a little bit of fabric from there and pull it back. See how it's pulled back towards our knot? Now I'm going to secure it there with a bit of thread. Follow my neckline on the other side and pick up a little bit more fabric from this side. I'm going to secure it at the back again with another stitch. Now one more time on the other side, following the neckline, picking up a little bit of fabric and pulling it back. We're doing this so that when you come to wrap the thread in a moment around your doll's neck, even though that sounds terrible, you won't end up with any wrinkles. And securing again at the back. It gets a little bit tough to get that needle through there, but generally can work it out. So now my neck looks a bit like this. I'm going to pull it gently but tightly and wrap around the neck, like so. I'm going to secure this at the back again. Now, to get rid of my chicken comb, I'm going to work my needle through the back. I'm not really stitching anything here. I'm just working the needle through to the top. Now I'm going to catch this little bit of fabric back here, insert it back just here. Now I'm going to help it to fold back by pushing it, and then I'm just going to pull that gently here. Now I'll just secure that with a couple of little stitches here. Now I'm going to create an invisible knot. To create an invisible knot, I have a loop, which I will pull tight, and here I have a knot, but if I cut my string here, I'll be able to see that, and I don't really want that. So I'm going to insert just as close to the knot as I can, push it through the fabric, come out on the other side. See, my knot here has disappeared. Now I'm going to take my snips and cut as close as I can to that fabric. Give it a little rub, and it's now disappeared. Our doll's head is ready to embroider the eyes and the mouth. You can watch my other video on how to do that, but I'll see you in the next step. Now that my little dolly head is ready for a hood, let's make the hood. On our little hood pieces, we're going to fold the edges back and create a very tiny, scant little seam on this side. There's one tiny little seam done. Now for the other. Now I've got my two little hood pieces, each with a little seam. I'm going to put them right sides together. I'm going to start from the face section and come around down the back towards the neck. So that sewing machine. Now I'll turn that right side out. Take my little head. I'm going to stitch him on here. Now when you're happy with your head position, I'm going to take a needle and thread and stitch the hood on. Okay, let's attach the hood. First I come through the velour, through the neck, and back on the other side of the velour. I'm going to pull that through, not all the way, so I'm going to tie a knot here to secure my thread. Right in the middle. Don't pull too tight, your cotton thread may break. So look a bit like that. Now, I'm going to create a running stitch around the hood. Now I'm just careful to pick up only the velour and not any of the skin fabric underneath. Following the neckline all the way around. Just picking up the velour and back to the start. Now just pull that gently so it bunches up a little bit. Now use my other knot that I had and we'll tie it again so it doesn't come loose. Don't pull too tight, you'll break your thread. Now, with very tiny stitches, we're going to go around the edge here so the hood doesn't come out. Very tiny stitches through the skin, up through the hood, back in again. So I'll do this 2 or 3 times. This is why pliers are handy. So you don't have to hurt or strain your fingers to pull those little needles out. So don't stress about getting tiny stitches all the way around because it's very difficult to do that unless you have a curved needle. So that's why we end up going around 2 or 3 times to try to close those gaps. So here you can see where the top of my seam was. So I'm just going to pull that down a little bit as I come through. Stitching that hood into place with my little stitches. Okay, so that's once around. Now I'm going to go around twice more. I'll see you in a minute. My hand pieces and my body piece. You'll notice that I have not turned my body piece the right way out yet. So I'm going to take my little hand and I'm going to face this little ball into the sleeve. Just like this. Now I just want to make sure all of the edges have not been tucked under. That looks okay. So I'll take my needle and I'm going to secure it with a knot just in the edge here. And we're going to work around all the way around the cuff of the sleeve, pulling tight as you go. Try to keep your little hand straight. You don't want a crooked hand. Now I'm back to my starting position. Since I'm there, I'm going to tie a knot. Now, I'm just going to do a little whip stitch around the inside here. Just a few stitches just to help secure that sleeve to that hand.
Bye.
Okay, now I'm back at the starting position. I'm going to tie that string off with another knot. Okay, if I wanted to be extra careful here, I could go around another time around that hand. Okay, now I've got one little hand. I'm going to continue now to put the other hand in. Okay, now we're going to make the ears. I have my 2 velour pieces and my 2 felt pieces. Right sides up, doesn't really matter with your felt. Now we'll just put the felt on top of the velour and I'm going to sew from one end around the top of the ear and back down the other side. Off your edges. Okay, what you want to do is just check that you're not very close to the edge. You can see here that I am very close, so I'm just going to come and do another line down here. I don't want my ears falling apart. Okay, that looks much better. Now I'm going to repeat for the other ear. Now I have all of my pieces. We're going to start putting our bunny together. First, we take our body piece and turn it the right way in. You want to be very careful when you push your arms through. Make sure all the seams are poking out the right way. Now take your little sandbag that you've made. Put him down into the bottom of your body. Your body should now look like that. Okay, now we're going to take our little head and put it inside the body. You can have a look and determine if you'd like a front or a back. I can see on my little hands that I've got a couple of wrinkles here, so I'm going to make that go at the back. I'll take my little head, put it into the body. Trying to make sure everything pokes down. Okay, now I've got my needle and thread. At the back here, I'm just going to secure with a knot the thread. what to do is I'm going to pick up stitches all the way around in a running stitch. Don't worry too much about your head position. You can fix that again in a moment. All the way around. And careful your thread doesn't knot up like mine just did. When we pull this tight in a minute, we want these seams to be facing inside and down. So it's just helpful if you come along and pinch them in as you go. It makes it easier in a moment. Okay, we're back at the start. Now, I'm going to position my head just a little bit better. Make sure his face is facing forward and not off to the side. And gently start giving this a little tug. And he should come together. Now, I'll have a look at him, make sure I'm happy with the position of his head. He looks okay to me. Now I'm going to tie this knot. And then we're going to use some ladder stitches to secure the body to the hood and the face. If you need some help with ladder stitches, you can check out my other video on how to do a ladder stitch. So I'm still going with the ladder stitch around the doll's head and body. You can see I've got some knots here from where I attached my hood. So I'm going to carefully go past it and pick up the ladder stitching and collect the stitches above it and below it. As I come through with my ladder stitch, the fabric will close over those knots and we won't be able to see them. I can see that my little dolly is leaning a little bit to this side. So I may go around again. I'm going to do shorter stitches on this side. Sorry, not so high, not so low. But when I get to this side, I might do my stitches a little bit higher so that will pull the head over a little bit. Okay, I'll see you in a minute. I've been working to attach this ear to the head. I've positioned it halfway from the back, halfway from the front, and just off the center seam. I've been using a ladder stitch as I go around. I'm going to go around a second time. Ladder stitching around the back again. As I go around the back of the ear, I'm careful just to collect the velour from the inside of the ear and not the felt. I want the felt to be tucked neatly on the inside. So here you can see I'm just collecting velour on the way around. Keep moving that over here out of the way. As I go around the head, I'm trying to get a little bit of the wool and skin fabric from underneath to give it a little bit more security. You don't want your ears being ripped off. Now to make sure the ear stands up straight, I'm going to push from this side so it comes up. And then to make sure he really stands, I'm going to grab the fabric a little bit higher from the top here. So I'll catch it a little bit higher. And then that makes it stand nice and high. Now I've come back to the position where I began. I'm just going to tie a knot here, a double knot. Now what I want to do is send my needle right next to that knot to the position on the other side of the head where I want the other ear to sit. Okay, to attach the ear, I'm just going to start ladder stitching. So through horizontally along the top of the ear here. Now that should sit into position. I'm not going to worry too much that it's not exactly where I want it right now. I can fix that in a moment when it's a little more secure. So this is what I was talking about, not catching the felt, just the velour. You want to catch from just above there, and then when you pull it down and stand your ear up, you should be able to get rid of that felt in the middle there. You can see it's starting to do it here. So when I come around a second time, all of this should be nice and closed. Here we go, closing that gap there. No more felt is visible. And again, as I go around, I'm making sure that I catch more than just velour. I want to catch some of that under fabric as well, to make sure your ears are nice and secure. Okay, now I'm back at the position I started with. I'm going to send this needle back through. I might take a couple of goes to get it in the right spot, right next to the knot. Pull it through. Make sure it's tight, you don't want any thread left next to that ear. Double knot. Now we're going to create some invisible knots. And here is our little completed bunny. As you can see, I've added some colour to our little dolly's cheeks. If you'd like to find out how to do that, I have a tutorial for you. But I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching, and if you found this video helpful, show your support by giving it a like. And if you'd like to stay updated with all of my new tutorials, please subscribe.